It all started with a late-night rant that nobody saw coming, and within minutes, the entire hip-hop world was on fire. Picture this. Joey jumps on live, eyes locked in, voice calm but cutting deep. And then he says it. Not just a casual jab, not some playful bar. Nah, this felt personal. He straight up calls out J. Cole, accusing him of quietly holding back one of the most gifted lyricists in the game. And just like that, timelines exploded. Fans are shocked, comments are flying, and people are asking the same question. Did Joey just expose something the industry didn't want us to see? But here's where it gets wild, because this isn't just about music. Joey didn't just question moves, he questioned intentions. He hinted at behind-the-scenes politics, suggesting that JID might not be getting the push he deserves, not because of talent, all but because of control. And the way Joey said it, it sounded less like a hot take and more like he knew something. Now emotions are running high. Some fans are riding with Joey, saying he finally said what needed to be said. Others are defending Cole, calling it disrespectful and out of pocket. But then, twist number one, old clips start resurfacing. Interviews, lyrics, moments that suddenly hit different in this new light. And just when you think it can't get messier, insiders begin dropping cryptic responses, subtle posts, unfollow rumors, silence from key people that somehow says everything. So now the question isn't just, why did Joey say this? It's, what pushed him to say it now? Because if even half of this is true, this could change how fans look at everything. The moment that clip hit the internet, or it didn't just trend, it detonated. Within hours, fans were dissecting every word Joey said about J. Cole and JID, trying to figure out whether this was just another emotional rant or something way deeper. And what made it feel different? Joey wasn't yelling. He wasn't clout chasing. He sounded calculated, like someone who had been holding this in for a long time. "You'll keep praising the gatekeepers," he said, leaning closer to the camera. "But nobody's asking why the most lyrical artists always gotta wait their turn." That line alone had fans pausing, rewinding, and replaying. Because if you know hip-hop, you know exactly who he could be talking about. And it didn't take long for people to connect the dots back to Cole and his Dreamville camp. Now here's where emotions really started running high. Fans who followed JID for years began resurfacing old frustrations. Comments flooded in saying things like, "He should be bigger by now," and "Why does it feel like he's always one step away but never pushed over the edge?" And suddenly Joey's words didn't sound so wild anymore. They sounded like something people had been quietly thinking. But then came the twist nobody expected. Old interviews of J. Cole started circulating, clips where he talked about timing, growth, and letting artists develop naturally. At the time, those statements sounded wise, almost mentor-like. But now, fans were rewatching them with a whole new perspective, questioning whether development was actually just a softer way of saying control. Meanwhile, Joey wasn't backing down. In fact, he doubled down without even saying another word. He liked tweets, or subtle ones. Tweets that accused the industry of hiding real lyricists. Tweets that hinted at politics behind label decisions. And that silence, it spoke volumes. People started wondering, was this personal experience talking? Or had Joey seen something firsthand? Because the way he was moving, it didn't feel random. It felt intentional. And the more people paid attention, the more the story started to shift from a simple call-out to something that felt almost like an exposure. Behind the scenes, speculation started building about what this could mean for Dreamville as a whole. Fans began questioning the dynamic between Cole and his roster. Was he a mentor or a gatekeeper? That question alone divided the fanbase right down the middle. Some defended Cole heavily, pointing out his track record of putting artists on, now his reputation for staying out of drama and his consistent support for lyrical rap. But others weren't so sure anymore. They pointed to moments where artists under his umbrella seemed to disappear for long stretches or projects that didn't get the push fans expected. And even though none of it was confirmed, The conversation had already taken on a life of its own. Then came another subtle but powerful shift. People close to the situation, producers, collaborators, even fans who claimed insider knowledge, started dropping cryptic messages online. Nothing direct, nothing you could pin down as fact, but enough to keep the fire burning. Posts like, "Y'all don't know half of it," and "Industry games go deeper than music" started popping up, adding fuel to an already explosive situation. And just like that, what started as one man's rant turned into a full-blown conversation about power, control, and who really decides when an artist gets their moment. At this point, the tension was undeniable. Everyone was waiting for a response, waiting for J. Cole to say something, anything, because his silence, it was getting louder by the hour. And in hip-hop, silence doesn't always mean peace. It can mean strategy. It can mean something is brewing behind the scenes. Or it can mean that the accusations hit closer to home than anyone wants to admit. As the tension kept building, the silence from J. Cole started to feel louder than any diss track ever could. Fans were refreshing their feeds every hour, waiting for even a hint, a tweet, a caption, anything. But nothing came. And that's when the narrative really began to spiral. Because in hip-hop, when someone of Cole's stature doesn't respond, people don't assume he's ignoring it. They assume he's calculating. Meanwhile, Joey's original words were spreading far beyond his core audience, reaching casual listeners who weren't even tuned into the situation before. Now everyone had an opinion, and emotions were running high across every corner of the internet. Then came another twist that nobody expected. A resurfaced freestyle clip of JID began circulating again. One where his energy was raw, aggressive, almost frustrated. At the time it dropped, fans praised the lyricism and moved on. But now, people were analysing his tone, his body language, even the way he delivered certain lines. Comments started flooding in like, "He sounds hungry, but also held back," and "Why does it feel like he's trying to prove something to someone above him?" Suddenly, even JID's older performances were being reinterpreted through this new lens Joey had created. And whether that was fair or not didn't matter. The perception had already shifted. Behind the scenes, the speculation got even deeper. Rumours started circulating that there had been creative disagreements within the Dreamville camp. Nothing confirmed, nothing official, but enough whispers to keep fans locked in. Some claimed that certain releases had been delayed. Others hinted that features and collaborations didn't always happen as smoothly as they appeared. And while none of these claims were proven, the timing of these rumours, right after Joey's call-out, made everything feel connected. It painted a picture that, real or not, felt believable enough to keep the conversation alive. At the same time, the fan base itself was becoming divided in a way nobody expected. On one side, you had people defending J. Cole, saying he's one of the few artists who actually cares about lyrical integrity. They pointed to his track record, his consistent support for real rap, and his role in bringing artists like JID into the spotlight in the first place. Why would he hold someone back when he built his whole brand on uplifting talent? They asked. But on the other side, Joey's supporters weren't backing down. They argued that gatekeeping doesn't always look obvious. It can be subtle, disguised as mentorship, patience, or waiting for the right moment. And just when things felt like they couldn't get more intense, another unexpected moment shifted the energy again. A live performance clip surfaced where JID made a small but noticeable comment before performing one of his biggest tracks. It wasn't direct. It wasn't even clearly about the situation, but the way he paused, smiled, and said, "Sometimes you just gotta wait your turn, right?" had fans going crazy. Some took it as a jab. Others said it was nothing. But in a moment like this, even the smallest detail can become a headline. Meanwhile, Joey remained active in the most strategic way possible by not over-explaining himself. He didn't jump back on live to clarify. He didn't drop a full statement. Instead, he let the conversation grow on its own, occasionally fueling it with a like here, a subtle reaction there. And that approach? It kept people talking. Because now, instead of one rant, the story had turned into a full-blown mystery. People weren't just reacting anymore. They were investigating, connecting dots, building theories. And through it all, one question kept getting louder. If this was really just speculation, why did it feel so real? Why were so many pieces, old interviews, performances, fan frustrations, suddenly lining up in a way that made Joey's claims seem possible? Because whether this was truth, exaggeration, or pure coincidence, the impact was already undeniable. The way fans looked at J. Cole, at JID, and even at the entire idea of mentorship in hip-hop, it was changing in real time. Just when it seemed like the conversation might start cooling off, the energy shifted again. And this time, it felt personal. Fans began digging deeper into the history between artists connected to J. Cole and the broader lyrical rap scene, pulling up old collaborations, and missed opportunities, and moments that suddenly felt off. One clip in particular started making rounds, showing JID alongside other top-tier lyricists, holding his own effortlessly. The comments under that video were ruthless. "He's been ready," one fan wrote. "So what's the hold-up?" another asked. And just like that, the pressure wasn't just on Cole anymore, it was on the entire system surrounding him. At the same time, insiders, or at least people claiming to be close to the situation, started speaking in even more cryptic ways. One post that went viral simply read, "Not every cosign is meant to elevate you. Sometimes it's meant to contain you." That single sentence sent shockwaves through the fan base. Nobody confirmed who it came from or what it meant exactly, but people immediately tied it back to Joey's original claims. And now the narrative was evolving again. This wasn't just about whether someone was being held back. It was about whether the structure of mentorship in hip-hop could sometimes work against the very artists it's supposed to help. Then came a moment that had everyone talking. During a podcast appearance, a well-known industry figure, someone who had worked with multiple artists across different labels, spoke in vague but telling terms about how timing is often used as a strategic tool. They didn't name names, but they said enough to get people speculating. Sometimes artists aren't pushed when they're hot because it doesn't align with a bigger rollout, they explained. And sometimes that delay changes everything. Fans immediately connected that statement back to JID, seeing questioning whether his trajectory had been shaped more by strategy than by his own momentum. And again, nothing was confirmed, but the idea alone was enough to keep emotions running high. Meanwhile, the silence from J. Cole was starting to divide even his most loyal supporters. Some saw it as strength, a refusal to engage in drama. Others began to wonder if it was avoidance. Because in a moment this big, where your name is being tied to serious accusations, even in a speculative, entertainment-driven way, saying nothing can sometimes speak louder than anything you could actually say. And that tension was starting to show in the fan base. Debates turned into arguments. Arguments turned into full-on online battles, with both sides refusing to back down. At the center of it all, JID remained the most mysterious piece of the puzzle. He didn't directly address anything, but his social media activity became a focal point for fans searching for clues. A tweet about staying patient sparked hundreds of replies. A studio photo with no caption had people analysing everything from his expression to the people in the background. Even his choice of emojis became a topic of discussion. It reached a point where every move he made, or didn't make, was being interpreted as part of a bigger story. And then came another unexpected twist. A snippet of unreleased music, allegedly linked to JID, started circulating online. The quality wasn't perfect, the source wasn't confirmed, but the lyrics? They hit a nerve. Lines about waiting in line, watching others shine, and knowing your worth but not getting your time, had fans convinced that this was more than just coincidence. Some called it proof. Others called it reach. But either way, it added another layer to a situation that was already full of speculation and emotion. At this point, the entire narrative had taken on a life of its own. What started as one man's rant had turned into a full-blown conversation about power, timing, and control in hip-hop. And the craziest part? Nobody had actually confirmed anything. There were no official statements, no clear answers, just pieces of a puzzle that fans were trying to put together in real time. But sometimes, in the world of rap drama, perception becomes reality long before the truth ever has a chance to catch up. Just when it felt like the story had reached its peak, the drama hit another level. Social media was buzzing with speculation after a high-profile producer who had worked with both Cole and JID in the past dropped a seemingly innocent post. Some doors open late, some doors never open unless someone pushes. Fans immediately connected the dots, reading it as a subtle confirmation of Joey's claims. The emotions ran high as screenshots circulated, showing the post alongside clips of Joey's rant, old interviews, and studio footage of JID looking frustrated yet composed. It was enough to keep the story trending for days, with everyone speculating about what was real and what was just hype. Meanwhile, Joey's camp remained quiet in the direct sense, but the energy coming from him was unmistakable. He started appearing in interviews and live streams with a sharp edge, dropping lines that hinted at insider knowledge without ever fully explaining himself. At one point, he said, "Well, sometimes the game ain't about who's the best, it's about who they let shine." Fans exploded over this statement. Comments poured in like wildfire. Some called it brave, some called it reckless, but nobody could ignore it. The tension between loyalty, respect, and ambition became the heart of the conversation. Emotions ran high as people debated whether Joey was exposing a long-standing issue in hip-hop or just stirring drama for clout. Then came a twist that no one saw coming. JID was spotted in the studio with a completely different energy than usual. Fans noticed he wasn't just recording tracks, he was experimenting, pushing boundaries, and collaborating with unexpected artists outside his usual circle. Clips leaked online, and fans interpreted them as a subtle message. He's ready to step out of the shadows, and with or without the approval of anyone in power. The family of fans was left divided. Some praised him for finally asserting independence, while others worried that burning bridges with Cole and Dreamville could have lasting consequences. The emotional stakes felt higher than ever because this wasn't just about music anymore, it was about control, recognition, and personal pride. At the same time, rumors about strained relationships within the camp continued to swirl. Allegations of unspoken tensions, missed opportunities, and silent disagreements were everywhere online. People who claimed to have insider knowledge said that certain songs had been held back from release and that key collaborations never happened because of strategic disagreements. No proof was provided, yet the fan base treated it like gospel. Emotional reactions ran rampant. Some said it was unfair to JID, while others defended Cole's approach, saying that timing and mentorship were part of the game. The lines between truth, perception, and speculation blurred, and the drama grew more intense with every passing hour. Then, just when the story seemed fully cooked, an unexpected personal angle emerged. Joey revealed a glimpse of his own history with lyrical gatekeeping in interviews, sharing anecdotes about being overlooked despite skill and dedication. The confession added an entirely new layer of credibility to his rant. Fans reacted immediately, many saying, "This explains why he's so fired up," while others questioned whether personal experiences were colouring his judgment about Cole and JID. Either way, it intensified the drama. The family was left divided, not just over artists, but over loyalty, honesty, and the rules of the rap world. Finally, the tension reached a boiling point when a well-known music blogger posted a side-by-side timeline of events, interviews, studio sessions, social media interactions, and unreleased clips. The post didn't accuse anyone directly, but the way it was laid out suggested a pattern, one where talent and recognition didn't always align. The comments exploded. Fans debated, argued, and speculated like never before. Emotions ran high, alliances formed, and divisions deepened. By the end of it, the narrative had transformed completely. What started as a single call-out from Joey had turned into a massive conversation about mentorship, gatekeeping, personal ambition, and what it really takes to make it in hip-hop. And no one knew what would happen next. Would Cole respond? Would JID finally break through on his own terms? Would Joey reveal more behind-the-scenes insight? Or would he stay silent and let the drama unfold naturally? The tension remained electric, and fans were glued to every post, clip, and rumor, knowing that whatever came next could change the game entirely. So here's where we're left. Questions hanging in the air, tension at an all-time high, and the hip-hop world watching every move. Joey threw the first shot, the family got divided, and now everyone's waiting to see if J. Cole responds, or if JID finally steps out of the shadows for good. Will this be a turning point for lyrical rap? Or just another story that fades after the hype dies down? Only time will tell. If you've been riding through all the twists, drop your thoughts in the comments. Who do you side with? And what do you think really happened behind the scenes? Don't forget to hit that like button if you're shocked by this drama, and make sure to subscribe so you never miss the next update in this unfolding saga. The story isn't over, and you'll want to be here when the next twist hits.